Hey everyone, this is Casey Giovinco, author of Garbed in Green, and welcome to my next video in the Gay Pagan Dating series. I'm so sorry that it has taken so long to get this video to you. A lot of you have reached out to me and told me that I left you hanging in suspense with that cliffhanger about my date. So let me explain why it's been so long. First, everything went really well with the date, and I was kind of caught up in it. Second, I got a little bit under the weather. So I was battling a seasonal flu or cold or whatever it was, and I spent the better part of last week and this week on the couch just recovering. Now that I feel better, though, I've done my homework and I've got some really cool stuff to tell you because even my dating experience fits into the topic of today's video, which, for the record, is called changing patterns. So my old pattern used to be, if I could find any fault with you at all, I wrote you off as a waste of my time. If you weren't husband material, you weren't even dateable. So I went on the date that Sunday night that I made my last video. And it was okay. Like the guy was so cute. But it was okay. He was not everything I was hoping for. Physically, he was stunning, beautiful, and socially and personality wise he was really lovely, but he's out of a 15-year relationship by less than a year, and he is partying like he has lost time doing it. So he's almost 40, and he never got to have fun in his 20s because he was dating somebody 15, 20 years older than him. So now he's making up for lost time. He did not want to meet me for dinner. Instead, he just wanted to do drinks. And while we were drinking, he said that he drinks like it is his job. He would wake up and drink if he could. And he just enjoys going and doing all of these gay party things, which, while I don't have any problem with it, it's not really what I want my relationship built around. So, him and his friends go to New York, or they go to Atlanta, or they go wherever for the gay circuit parties. But that's really not my scene. More to the point, every conversation that he had about his friends involved some drugs or alcohol, and I wasn't real thrilled about that. So I mentioned that I wasn't thrilled about the drugs, and he said, well, he doesn't do drugs, but he does like to drink. Either way, it didn't really work with me, but rather than write him off completely, I liked him. I thought he was a nice guy. He was clearly running his life smoothly enough that he was happy and rather successful at it. He held down a very successful job and is living a life that he's happy with. So I was like, all right, no harm, no foul. I'll just let this be what it is. So I invited him back to my house. We had a wonderful hookup, essentially, and he stayed and hung out for about 3 hours after we were done. The next morning, I got a text message from him telling me how beautiful I am and how much he really appreciated the night before and that he can't wait to see me again. So we continued to text message every day for the next week and finally met up again because, quote unquote, he needed to see me, which was really sweet. So I was like, okay, let's get together and hang out. So we got together, we hooked up again, everything was wonderful. He continued to text message me, but somewhere over the course of time, we have just managed to lose touch with each other. Now, I made it a point not to engage him further than he was willing to engage me because I had already kind of decided, we're not a good fit for each other romantically, and I'm not going to lead anybody on. But as long as you're happy having the casual relationship that we're having, and I'm happy doing it, no harm, no foul, as long as we don't kind of lead each other down a false path. So that's what happened. Ultimately, I'm very happy with the idea that I don't know where he is or what's going on or whether we're going to be in contact again or not. And that's so new for me. That's like a complete change of pattern. Because like I said, I used to get really, really hard-nosed, black or white about it. Either you are husband material and you're worth my effort, or you are not, and you are not worth my effort. So this is a completely new construct for me. which leads me to today's homework for my relationship coaching class. And the relationship coaching class talks about changing patterns. And they gave me a homework assignment about my patterns and what they're about and what they give me and how they work. So let's talk about what it takes to first construct a pattern and then change it. So all of us in our human condition face pain. Pain is inevitable. Discomfort is inevitable. But how we handle it defines who we are in a lot of ways. So we create patterns as we analyze things in order to avoid pain and give ourselves a better opportunity for pleasure. And the patterns that we construct in order to avoid pain and find pleasure, or at least statistically have a better chance of finding pleasure, become our habits. And so as we grow as personalities, these patterns and habits become part of who we are, and it becomes much more difficult for us to navigate them and get out of them. In fact, we get so attached to them as if they were who we are. And one of the major steps in finding a partner who you're going to love is putting your higher self in control of your ego, which means recognizing these patterns, to know, to will, to dare, to be silent. Remember our witch's pyramid? To recognize these patterns, to know yourself and how you are different than your behavior, how you are different than the circumstances you find yourself in, and how they either help you achieve what you want or they pull you further and further away from it. So, when changing your patterns, there are 4 steps for you to remember. The first is that you start with an identifiable and concrete problem or pain that has caused discomfort in your life. The second is that you associate that problem with massive pain. Not something minimal, but massive pain, either present or in the past or in the future. And the bigger the pain is, the faster you are going to be able to make that change. So for example, a smoker who wants to quit smoking, it's not enough that they're merely antagonizing their partner. That's a small pain. But if their partner says it's the cigarettes or me, that's a big pain. And that may be enough to instigate the person to make a change. Depending on the person, some people may say, don't give me an ultimatum. But a bigger pain than that, your doctor says to you, if you don't stop smoking, you're going to die in 6 months. That person looks at the pain and goes, okay, now I've got to do something. So the bigger the pain, the faster the change. Third, you need to associate the change, the successful change of the pattern, with a massive joy or pleasure, something that outweighs the pain associated with avoiding the circumstance that your pattern has been designed to avoid. Does that make sense? Okay, and then 4, because nature abhors a vacuum, as we witches know, you need to replace the old pattern with a new pattern. You need to be in charge of what you fill the space around you with, because if you don't do it, whatever's nearest to you when you empty that container is going to be filling up the container. So whatever is energetically, psychologically, emotionally, terrestrially near you, when you make this space inside yourself, that's going to be the thing that becomes your new reality. So better that you choose it than that you let the universe choose it for you. So those are the 4 things that you really, really need to know in order to change a pattern. So here are my 4 patterns that I was really upset about and want to change. I have a tendency to romanticize men. Love at first sight kind of stuff. Now, at first that doesn't sound like a pattern, but the way that I do it, it totally is a pattern. Like I go out on a date and oh my god, the guy is the sexiest thing and he's so charming and we're going to fall in love and he's going to forget the hookup culture and all these things and he's just going to love me and want to marry me from day one. Not so good. That's a bad pattern. And it happens over and over and over again because up until very recently, I couldn't imagine just meeting somebody and wasting my time, right? And that's really how I thought about it. I couldn't imagine wasting my time on somebody who was just going to be fleeting. And so the desired outcome that I have that I would like to replace that pattern with is I want a real connection with somebody. Forget the romance. I'd love romance. I think that'd be lovely. But I want a real connection with somebody. The second pattern, getting insecure whenever there's a lack of communication. So that's something that bothers me immensely. Like if I'm dating somebody and he doesn't communicate with me in a routine way, like whatever he promises he's going to do, he doesn't do it, that antagonizes me to no end. Like it's the fastest way to get me to be upset. Like, it makes me feel like the high school cheerleader who's just waiting for the quarterback to call, and I don't like it. So that bothers me, and I often find myself getting antagonized and bitchy towards the men I date when they fail to communicate effectively. And so the outcome that I'm going to try to replace that pattern with is self-sustaining peace of mind. I don't need you or anybody else to make me feel good about me. Whether you call or don't call, whether you keep your promise about communication or you don't, doesn't mean my day has to be ruined. All it means is you either have integrity or you don't, or I mean something to you or I don't. And so that really has nothing to do with me. That's all about you. And why should I make that more about me than it is? Why should I take on an extra burden that I just don't need? So I'm going to replace that old pattern with the new pattern of continued internal peace of mind that is self-sustaining. In the cases where my relationships have lasted long enough to make this happen, I would pick a fight to end everything first. Like, and I'm not talking like a minor fight. Like, should we go to Burger King or Olive Garden? I'm talking like Chernobyl kind of fight. Like, I would go to war just to prevent you from doing it first. Why bother doing that? Like, we don't need that. We already have enough shit in our lives. But Casey, way to go, waging war when there was no war needed. So instead of that, and I wrote this, I'm going to give the poor bastard a chance. Excuse me, you hear the remaining of the sickness? I'm going to give the poor bastard a chance because, come on, we all need a chance. Like, do we really have to get mad at each other? Like, most of the time people are just, I don't know, trying to make it day to day. So the way I'm going to phrase that that's not quite so cheeky is I'm going to exercise my tenet of tolerance. Shit comes up. Maybe I just need to roll with it. And that's what I'm going to do. Like major slights or real signs that you're being emotionally distant or aloof, fine. I'll deal with those when they show up. But I'm not going to see shadows where there are none. And 4, and this one's good. This one got me my nickname in college of Ice Queen. They used to joke about me sitting on the ice throne. So whenever it looks like it's not going my way in a relationship, I turn cold and distant to protect myself. And in the past, this has made me really, really jaded. really jaded. And it hasn't hurt anybody but me, and it hasn't helped me at all. So why am I going to do that? Why am I going to continue to do that? So rather, I'm going to reclaim my childhood heart. So, in order for you to know what this means, I was a really sweet kid. Like, if you were crying as an adult, I came and I hugged you. Some little boy beat up my little sister, and I pushed him down, and then I hugged her. I'm like, it's gonna be okay. Like, I was a really empathetic and kind and compassionate and infinitely forgiving child. I saw the best in everybody. I always wanted to make everybody really, really happy and make them feel loved. So I'm going to reclaim that. Um, of course, I'm going to keep the adult discernment that I've learned, but that compassion and that grace that that little 8-year old boy showed the world, well, we need more of that. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to reclaim my childhood heart without being naive about it. All right. So, all four of these pains or patterns, I guess is a better way to say it, have one pain in common. And it asks me, what is the pain that you associate with stopping the old pattern or behavior? So all four of these have one pain in common. Being alone when I don't want to. Like, as a witch, I'm really good about meditating and doing all of the things that I'm supposed to do and recognizing that I walk a path alone together with other people. Like, even in a coven, there are certain parts of the path that are just for you alone. And so I'm really good at that. I'm really good at recognizing that the witch has one foot in the realm of man and one foot in the realm of spirit. I'm really good at recognizing that we straddle the world between civilization and nature. Like, it's necessarily alone, but I'm okay with that. Except when I don't want to be alone. Then my little monkey mind gets going and drives me nuts. But it's not cool to let that be something that a boyfriend has to cure. Just be better at meditating, Casey. Use your magic. Be a real witch. So that's sort of where I'm at on it. It's like, I don't need these patterns to fix that problem. Let's just do the magic. What is the pleasure that I've gotten from doing the pattern or behavior? So in all four of them, it's really funny. The pleasure that I've gotten from them is not only in holding off the pain of being alone, but it gave me a sense of excitement. Each of them did in their own way. Like the fights. The fights at least weren't boring. And there was a rush of endorphins and cortisol and all these all these chemicals and the heightened state of aggression. Like, it was not boring. And I was like, okay. So that's the pleasure that they brought me. What is the pain that will happen if you do not stop the pattern or behavior? So, if I continue to use these old patterns, I'm actually going to be alone whether I want to or not. Like, one thing I've learned about myself, I am way too good at war. I am way too good at strategy. Once my battle armor goes on, nobody leaves the battlefield alive. And so, why am I going to do that to somebody I say I love? Why am I going to do that to myself? And if I don't stop these patterns, which for the record, I am working on, like over the last 3 or 4 weeks, I've really been implementing some of this stuff. Over the last 3 or 4 months, I've really been implementing some of this stuff. But we're all works in progress. If I don't stop these patterns, if I don't change them, I actually will be alone. And the last question is, what is the pleasure that you will experience if you do stop the pattern and create the desired outcome? Well, um, I'll find peace. I'll find contentment. There's no reason that I can't be happy whether I'm single or in a relationship. I'll find peace and contentment. And after I wrote these answers down, after I answered the questions for this homework assignment, I had the most wonderful experience online that told me I was right. And it told me I wasn't broken or damaged like I have always thought. I love when gods do that to us. So I was on Grinder and I was talking to this guy and we were going back and forth about some really heavy shit. And he said, I'm so grateful to be able to talk to you because everybody else writes me off when I say I won't send a dick pic or I won't do this or I won't do that. And believe me, I got where the guy was coming from. So I said, no, I'm really thrilled to talk to you too. I'm sorry that people are so dismissive of you. And he asked me for my phone number so that we could talk. And we actually took our conversation off Grindr into a phone call. And he cried and was really sweet to me. And we were really opening up to each other, this person I had never met before. And he said, I'm a demisexual. And in the moment, my little judgy nature got the better of me. I didn't say anything to him, but in my head I was like, Jesus Christ, how many more fucking labels do we have to give ourselves in this modern day and age? First we've got this, then we've got that, now we've got demisexuals and sapiosexuals and whoeverosexuals. I was just like, what the hell? But anyway, after I got done being judgy, I went and looked up what a demisexual was while I was talking to him, for the record, because I put him on speakerphone and I went and looked up what demisexual was. And I was like, holy shit, this is what I've been saying is the way that we should be operating in relationships. And this guy informed me that demisexuality is that you're not sexually aroused by somebody until you have a deep emotional bond with them. Which is where I'm at. Like, I just want to have a deep emotional bond that makes the sex something more than just mechanically tuning a car. And so we talked about that, and he kind of led me through some of my judginess, and I kind of let him, and we had a really good conversation that ended with me finding a sense of community in this person I had never met before. And it reminded me, Casey, fucking do your tenet of tolerance and stop being a douche, So that's what I did. And then I spent some time looking up demisexuality and what it's about and where people are coming from with this thing. And I was like, I think that's fantastic. That there are so many different ways that we can find love with each other. Maybe we just don't know everything we need to know in order to be effective at this. And so, once again, back to square one, but you know what? This time, kind of happily so. So, that's it. That's where I'm at right now. I hope that you guys find some value in this. And, I'm sorry for the wait on the video, but thank you so much for bearing with me, and I will talk to you soon. Bye, guys.